Cool. We're recording. Nice. Well, it's good to see you again, Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb is a good friend of mine from Virginia. I thought I'd hit him up to ask him just some fun questions about rules and boundaries within relationships between single men and single women, inside the church, outside the church. Figured it'd be a good time to talk about this during the shelter in place, since we've got nothing else to do but to think and talk and read and everything else. Ryan has been in and out of the ministry a couple times, and he's now in the mental health field, and he'll share more about that. So Ryan, when people say rules, boundaries, in the context of relationships, people either hate it or love it. I guess let's start off with some terminology, just so people kind of know where we're coming from. What is your definition of a rule? What is your definition of a boundary? What are the differences between the two?
Yeah, sure. Hey, thanks for having me on for this discussion. And, just to make it clear, I am in the mental health field. I do have a background in the ministry. This is a totally non-biased, non-assumptive discussion to better help people, single in the church, single out of the church, whoever wants to congregate on this YouTube, the opportunity to understand rules and boundaries, not just based on what I believe from, literacy, but also experiential, because I have a lot of experiential experience. So let's start with the rule area you're talking about. Rules can be many things to many different people. So if you're watching this YouTube later and you're a female or you're a male, they may be different based on your temperament, your location, your culture, the ethnic background you grew up in, how you respond to things, your personality. You can go deep, but rules are really regulations. That's what a rule is. It's a regulation. The government has regulatory rules. Companies have regulations. Organizations have regulations. They have to submit if they're nonprofit or they're for-profit. Small businesses that want to be an LLC, there's a regulation. Governing conduct. Conduct is a very dangerous word, because people say you need to have right conduct, but it's a rule, it's conduct. It's an arrangement. It can be an arrangement, okay? So a rule can be an arrangement. So one rule in one place may not be the same rule in another place. That's just how it is. And some of this you might go, well, yeah, I know that, but we don't think about it. And so I'm trying to give you guys a little bit more of an exploratory, kind of a buffet of what the word rule to me means. Rule can mean to control. It can mean to direct. That is a really, that can be a fine line. It can be authoritative degree to, degrees. So authoritative rules were used by dictators. They're also used by beautiful people. And so dictators, I'm not saying they're not beautiful people. I'm just saying they're dictators. Okay. So have you met a dictator that's beautiful? It may be beautiful, but he's not being beautiful, or she. Rules exercise dominion over things. So are rules bad? I don't think they're bad. I just think that they are, it's how you perceive them. Perception is usually not one's reality when it comes to things. I'll give you a story about this before I go into boundaries, about rules for me. I don't like rules. Rules to me, when I was younger, when I became a Christian, when I became an individual out in the world, living on my own, I thought rules were for fools. And so I say that because I had a really difficult time being regulated, and yet I needed to be regulated. I needed that reminder that there are foundational, limits. There are foundational things that I need to follow. In the law, just telling you in my own mindset, I perceived that, hey, if I was going to be successful, I needed to never follow rules. And that's not very true, because in order to get my therapy degree done, in order to get some of my training done, in order to be properly done, I needed to follow some rules. It doesn't mean I need to rely on the rules. And I think some people do that. So they rely on the governing bodies, they rely on the rules. So that's kind of my ideal, description of rules. It's pretty should be known. However, again, the female or the male that listens to this, or the couple or the single that listens to this, you need to take time to think, how does that relate to me? How does that correlate with my life? Okay. And when you do that, you start opening up all kinds of possibilities to help you better see the word rule. So let's talk about boundaries for a minute, because people get this idea that boundaries and rules are the exact same thing, and they're absolutely not the same thing. Now, I think a boundary can be inside a rule, because you can have a boundary within a rule, but boundaries are like limits. Okay, it's like if you look at the 50 states that we have, plus the Washington, D.C. area, and then you see where, Texas, where my great friend Jared is, he's in Texas, down at the very bottom of Texas, where my in-laws live, down near the Grand Laredo, they live down there. There's a border for Mexico, and there's a thing that's a limit. So there's boundaries. Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 from the French, and when he bought it, it was everything west of the Mississippi. It's a pretty big boundary. Boom. So boundaries are limits. They're lines. They're frontiers. They're territories. They're barriers. They're put in place in a sense to help people have specific guidance. They're helpful. They're usually helpful. To some people, they're harmful. To me, they were kind of harmful, because I was like, I don't want boundaries either. I just want to go, So that's kind of what boundaries are, horizons. And if you think about it like that, whether you're in the church or not in the church, then what you do is you give yourself the ability, you give yourself the authority to look within yourself about boundaries and how important or not important they are for you, and what you're going to do to make them important. So is that a good definition for you, Jared, right there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very thorough definition. It sounds like you're touching a little bit on self-awareness a little bit. I mean, I've heard it said, the more self-awareness you have, the more choices you have.
Yeah.
I think people that lack self-awareness don't know where to put the boundaries with themselves and with other people. I don't know if that's what you were referring to when you were talking about yourself, when you were describing boundaries.
Yeah, I was. And I had to learn to maturate myself through scripture and through self-development. And what that requires is I have to step into that situation. So I had to step into, I don't like rules, or I don't accept rules, or I don't think rules are for me. Like I'm some high and mighty guy, which that's my nature without really having a spiritual and an emotional stability. And I had to really take stock. And I took stock through the scriptures. I took stock through prayer, but I took stock through my own awareness with the church. And so when I did that, I created a different view. I created a different dynamic, around me. And what that did was it gave me the ability to take care of me while I was trying to do the work of the Lord. And so I think people want to do the work of the Lord without taking care of themselves. And so when they start understanding boundaries and rules, they start to use their internal perception in a different way. God gave us an internal perception. You see, he gave us he gave us the church, but that's not our internal perception. We have to have our own through that. Then we can actually move forward. And that's what I had to learn. So yeah, so absolutely. That's exactly what I was sharing. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Okay. You mentioned self-development. I guess where's the balance between figuring things out yourself and having other people helping you understand boundaries and rules? Not to say that they're the standard, but they can be a mirror in a sense.
Yeah. No. Mentors are great. And, and I think, I came to the church in 1998. I came in, I was raw. I was so raw. It was like, I came in and I thought, I'll tell you a quick story. So I was in Nashville, I got converted, I got baptized. And, and a month later I was in the ministry.
Oh.
With Doug and Jennifer Lambert. And I love Doug and Jennifer Lambert. Shout out to Jennifer Lambert, man. She pushed through her pancreatic cancer, praying for her. And Doug was like a dad, still is to me. We don't talk as often, but totally respect them. William is a good friend of mine. He's over in Madrid with his wife, Kristen, doing the work of the ministry. But when I came into the ministry, I came into the church, I had all the same kind of clothes. I had all white shirts. This is a true story. And so one day,
Literally, or
literally, I think I had all white shirts. I mean, even when I met my wife, she's like, "Do you have anything with color in it?" And so Doug, one day after staff, he brought me in his house. He says, "You can have all these shirts. They were all colors. They were all different colors." I share that because you have to have people in your life that are going to direct you, but you don't need to have people in your life that are going to tell you what to do. Okay, like. So they can give you, if you do exactly what they say in terms of how you can change yourself, in terms of helping you, that's good. But you have to still put the gas in the tank. You still have to turn the key. And so what Doug and Jennifer did was they led me to places where I could turn the key. You know, not just them, but I had lots of mentors. I had people, K.W. Engelhardt used to be in the church. Great guy, was helpful. John Kennedy, great friend, tried to help me a lot. And there were tons of other people like Anthony Miller, who's a judge now in Leon County in Florida. These guys were always there to kind of give me a little push, so you do need that. The problem is it becomes the person's and reliability. And so then what you do is you think you're going to be them. Well, you're not them. You're you. So if you don't become you, the only way for you to become you is to go through you and to become you in you. So the only way you're going to be free is to know who you are. If I'm going to be free, I got to be me. But you need to have that help. And God's like that too. I mean, that's what the Bible is. We go, oh, okay, I read the Bible, everything's great. No. No. You have to, and I had to learn this too as I got older, because the older you are, the harder things can be, regardless what you do. That my intentionality in the moment, being present and intentionality, is the most important thing I can have, even more important than a mentor. The mentor is extra. It's gravy. It's the appetizer. It's the extra appetizer. It's the dessert. It's whatever you want to, I'm cheating today. I'm not eating that. I'm going to eat a little bit of cake or whatever. But it's also important to have them there to help you. And it's also important for the mentor to help you the right way, because if they don't help you the right way, it's just as much your fault as it is their fault. So that makes sense?
Yes. So there's going to be people listening to this going, but I don't like me. I mean, my parents didn't like me. My dad didn't like me. I didn't have any friends growing up. And so there's an element of shame there. So when you're saying, oh, well, you need to be you, what if you don't like your identity, or you don't, there's an element there's people that are struggling with that. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, great question and great point. Yeah, all of us have something in us that we don't like. I grew up very hateful towards myself, not because anybody really did anything to me, but because I expected more from me than I expected unrealistic things from me. And so in those situations, identifying what you don't like about yourself and then trying to come up with a plan to go after that is totally needed. It's totally the challenge, but it's totally what you need to do. It's like this. Michael Jordan hated passing the ball. He hated it. Just go back and watch the tapes from the mid 80s when Michael came into the league. Michael scored 40, 50, 60 points a game. The Bulls would lose. He'd score 40, 50, 60 points a game. The Bulls would lose. He'd score another foot. They keep losing, but he was scoring points, right? He was getting the point, whatever, most points in games and stuff like that. It wasn't until he made a decision to evaluate the fact that if he didn't change the way he played, they weren't going to win. And so what he did was he took it upon himself to say, I don't really like doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And he did. Happen was what? The results. 6 titles. He had 10 scoring titles. They had 6 world championships. He won the MVP, I think, 5 or 6 times. What's my point? You have to be willing to see who you are, good and bad. And you're really not a bad person. You just have some things you need to improve. What we like to do is we like to say, well, I'm good here, but I'm bad here. And the only thing we remember is what? The bad. We don't remember the good. We don't remember that, Babe Ruth struck out 13,130 times, but he hit 714 home runs. We don't remember that Jordan shot the ball over 24,000 times. He made 50% of those. But in order to do that, you have to look, okay, am I doing this well? Am I not doing this well? And again, I'm using a sports analogy for you females that don't get this. It's the same thing when it comes to, it could come to Deborah in the scriptures when she put herself on the line and said, you know what, take me, I'll die for Mordecai. I'll do it. I'll do it. Or Ruth with Boaz. Or there's plenty of female leaders like Condoleezza Rice or people like that that they just go out there, but they realize that there's things that they have that are good, but they also realize there's improvement. So I think it's how you perceive yourself. I don't like myself. Well, if you keep saying that, then you're never going to like yourself. But if you say, well, I don't really enjoy doing this, or I don't enjoy the way I feel about this, or if you go, well, my past was really bad and I'm just going to live in my past, then you're kind of missing the idea of the scriptures about, leaving your past behind and moving towards the future, like Paul says. Or you just like feeling bad. And I had to make a decision. I don't like to feel bad. So what do I have to do to make it better? It's kind of like repenting, but it's also mindful mind development. It's shifting. It's paradigm shifting. So you paradigm shift the mind, and then you repent through, your sin. And what happens is you become more aware of it. Doesn't mean it's going to go away right away. And that's what people realize. Oh gosh, you know what? I tried this for 2 days. It didn't work. Really? You tried it for 2 days? 2 whole days, huh? Wow. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's like diets. Everybody wants a diet that just, oh, here's a pill. They don't want to, it's not the diet that changes people. It's the perception of themselves that changes them. So hope that helped.
No, yeah, it definitely did. I know there's, I feel like there's some people that find security in the just being told what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of an insecurity of them making a mistake, of them failing, of them not having any direction. Is there anything wrong with somebody telling you what to do at first and then transitioning into you developing your own path?
Not at all. Not at all. As long as it's done properly and it's done with guided leadership. Telling somebody what to do. Well, I'll give you an example. Jared, I want you to go do that.
Why?
Right. I didn't tell you why. I didn't give you any type of depth. I really didn't connect with you. I just kind of gave you a command. I gave you a rule. Go do it. That's my rule. Now, hey, Jared, I have some ideas. I think they're going to really help you. They're going to kind of elevate where you're at. Let's talk a little bit maybe tomorrow over coffee or over Zoom and coffee.
I didn't get mine yet. But.
I can't believe it. That's it. We're out. That's it. I'm sorry. No. The general idea is the approach. Now, some people go, well, it's got to be perfect. No, it's got to be approach that helps you understand they're there to help you, not to blame how they do or don't do it, but it's also your responsibility as the person who wants the help to allow it to come to you too. So yes, it's called a plan, and you get a plan, and you have to be responsible though for the plan. Okay. Well, I can't find a mentor. I don't know where to go. Are you looking? Are you praying? Are you asking God? Or are you just kind of just deciding I can't find one? Again, a lot of people don't understand that because perception is reality, if they change their reality, they do it through habits. So reading your Bible every day, expecting the great things of God to be ahead, being positive like Philippians 4:8, and then acting on that positivity is going to lead you to mentors. And it's also going to help you understand that the mentor is not the end all be all. They're just a tool. They're just a tool. Just like the church is a tool. Okay. The church is not responsible as far as I'm concerned. Now, some people may go, oh yeah, you're wrong. We're supposed to shepherd. I didn't say that. What I'm saying is we are supposed to shepherd, but there's a spiritual element of that shepherding that needs to go on to empower the flock. And if you don't do that, then that person that you say needs help, they don't ever change. They're always looking for that help. So if you're listening to this, this is to help you gain insight on how to better yourself through spiritual, emotional, and physical entities. So I don't know if that helped. Hope that did.
Yeah. I know that people listening will go, yeah, that makes sense. And I agree 100%. And then they have to go talk to somebody. And then all of a sudden, the interaction with the external force is,
Right.
it sort of tests the boundaries and the rules that they hold so dear because of
Yeah.
self-awareness and emotional intelligence and everything else. When they when someone encounters, I'll just give an
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
If someone encounters someone that they desire to build a friendship with, they desire to get close to, but what are the rules of engagement as far as knowing where the boundaries are at within the friendship, especially with the opposite sex? I know guys, we joke around,
Sure.
there's, I mean, sure, there's boundaries, but the boundaries can be figured out before like rough and tumble play. Like we just kind of figure it out, we punch it out, we yell it out, and then we argue, and then we make up, and then we're
Like,
good.
you guys have boxing in the Dallas church?
We've gotten close, not quite. We're getting
Understood.
the Fight Club ministry going. No, but but when it comes to interacting with the opposite sex, when single guys are interacting with single women are interacting with single
Sure.
men,
Sure.
obviously, especially now because of the Me Too movement, because of this fear of overstepping a boundary accidentally. What I guess maybe you can give people some direction as far as what is appropriate boundaries to have. Obviously, we don't want to get into the like, hey, this is what you need to do, because every situation is different,
Right.
every
Sure.
context is different, every relationship's different. But as far as like this foundational stuff, do you have any thoughts on that as far as just kind of that area?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about relationships, whether you're talking about individual relationships like between the opposite sex, or you're talking about even marriage relationships always start individually within. Okay, so how you perceive a relationship to be, or what you desire, or what is motivating you. In the church, of course, it's being encouraging, and it's being respectful, and it's having pure relationships, and before marriage, and hey, and that's the idea, right? And so a lot of people come from really messed up backgrounds. I came from a good background, great background, but there was a little different perception of relationships. I really wanted to push and connect with people to the point where there really wasn't a maturation. So a couple of things come to mind when I think about this, especially with the opposite sex. You have to think about that person and what they would want before you think about what you want. That's the first thing. And so that's in the church, out of the church. I don't care what your religion is. It doesn't make any difference to me. So you have to think. I said the word think. Think. What does this person or individual want from me, or want in general? If you don't know that, pursuing that situation without knowing that is a dangerous game. So I'll give you an example. When I was 26, I became a disciple. I was engaged. I was going to marry, I thought I was marrying this girl, we had a horrible relationship. Not going to give you her name because she's doing well. She's great. I don't talk to her anymore, but she's in the church. She's doing amazing. I'm so thankful that she's doing amazing. Her kids are growing up. She had little kids. They're beautiful young ladies. And so I had this idea that we were going to be together forever. And I did everything possible to connect with her after we both became Christians. I cut her lawn without her knowing. I did all these things. What I did was I put her in a bad spot. I put her in a situation that created more animosity towards me. I didn't have to cut her grass. I didn't cut her grass just to cut her grass. I cut her grass because I wanted to be close to her. So my point of saying this is I didn't think before I jumped. So I think the best advice I can give you in relationships, whether they're opposite sex relationships or they're brother to brother relationships, is think before you jump. You know, being involved with people in terms of intimacy, like I'm talking about relational intimacy, like being connected. Let me make that clear before everybody jumps to the other thing. Is fine. It's okay. It's putting yourself in a good position to win with God if you're a spiritual person, and putting yourself in a position of good maturation, regardless, and respect to other people. It's really treating people how you'd want to be treated. So if you're in a situation where you feel like you are owed that relationship, that's something that needs to be explored off the record, because nobody deserves anything. Me, you, Jared, the only person that deserves anything is God, because he's the universe. He's universal, right? He's the universal, you know, he's the law. He's the, you know, the law. He's the law. So, but as a whole, it's to think first. We don't spend enough time thinking. And if you're home now and you're not busy and you're not doing anything except playing Xbox and sending texts to your buddy about MMA or you're, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. But if you're spending your entire day doing that, you're not thinking. And you know, and that goes same thing for other people. If you're just sitting around watching, you know, HGTV all day long, you know, that's your choice, but you're not thinking. And so what you don't do is you don't build an emotional stability in your head about the things that are going on around you, and then you just kind of act. So that's kind of my overview. When it comes to like brothers and sisters in the church, I absolutely believe that there is a level of respect that has to happen, and a level of honesty that needs to take place with whomever is going through whatever they're going through. So yeah, you don't want to get married, or you just want to be connected. You got to still respect the fact that whether you're a guy or a girl, the other person may not be thinking the same way you're thinking. I mean, I'll be married 20 years in February. Yeah, I know. When this goes out, people are going to see this. There's no way Ryan Grubb has been married for 20 years. I've been married for 20 years, still have my hair. And we still have to do that within our relationship. 20 years, guys, 20. 2 kids, 16, 11, 2 dogs, a house, and a partridge in a pear tree. My point is this. It's an ongoing, it's a daily thing. So you have to be aware. You have to think. And so God teaches that in Romans 12. He says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You have to think. And so it's not just running away from sin. We have this whole thing. It's about thinking. So respect, admiration, and relational awareness are the 3 things. People say, oh, I already know that. Well, then if you know it, then put it into practice. Ask somebody who's been through it. You can ask me. I just gave you an example of something I did incorrectly. I didn't continue to do that. I shifted. So yeah, there you go. So
I know the word emotional purity gets thrown around a lot. I guess, what is your personal definition of emotional purity, especially when it comes to emotional intelligence, self-awareness, having the other person in mind, as well as knowing where you're at in a emotional like position wise?
Yeah, emotional purity. I have not heard that statement. I think that's pretty interesting. Like, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about the purity of your emotion, like being able to control your emotion. Is that what you mean by that?
I've heard it in the context of like flirting, like, you know, emotional purity, like don't flirt with somebody, leading their emotions in a bad place. When it comes to interacting with the opposite sex. So
yeah, I think that goes back to a number of things. When the perception that you have about emotions, there's 2 parts of the mind. You have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Okay. And so there's tons of books about consciousness. People say, well, that's not from God. Consciousness is the light. You see the light behind me in my view? That's the light. That's the consciousness. It's consciously making me aware that the light's coming through. So when I am, which is what God says in the scriptures with Moses, I am, that means I'm conscious. I'm aware of what I'm doing. Okay. So the subconscious is the habit mind, and it's kind of the habitual mind. So if we grew up thinking, oh, it's okay to do this, or it's okay to do that, or, I'm okay. I'm not having sex, but it's okay for me to look. I've heard that a lot. Or it's okay for me to look at, pornography every once in a while, but I'm not having sex or whatever. I'm just going there. Okay. For emotional purity. And emotional purity can also be your just anger, your inability to be able to formulate strength. Then if you're in the unconscious programming, then you're just going to continue to do it until you decide to have some thought behind it. So emotional purity is all about thought, and then leading you to an emotional involvement. Like, is this going to be helpful? So think about this. If I am interested in someone and I just kind of force my hand on them, I'm not talking about rape. I'm talking about emotionally. Force my hand on them. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Here's a card. Here's this. And I have no business on wanting to actually have a relationship with them. I just want to connect. Then I'm not showing them, go back to boundaries. I'm not showing them emotional. I'm being disrespectful to myself in that, as far as I'm concerned. In that moment, that's where I have to go, well, what do I have to, how do I need to be? What do I need? And that's where the plan comes in. That's where the mentor comes in. That's where the extra help comes in. That's where my time with God comes in. That's where my intentionality comes in. So emotional purity is kind of a subject inside emotional intelligence. Am I purifying my mind emotionally? Am I thinking about how to help myself be emotionally involved in a pure way? It's not running away from things. It's identifying what isn't pure and then changing it to what is pure. Okay. So we have a misperception sometimes, I know I have, about what that means. If you're getting better, if you're gaining results in being pure, it'll be obvious. Your responses, your reactions, the way that you handle yourself, your interactions with people, your apologies, your humility, those things will all come out without you feeling like, oh, I'm never going to get what I want. And so most people want something, but they don't know how to get there. So, yeah, I mean, and for those that are watching, everybody's emotional stability is going to be different. So the levels of these are different. So again, oh, I've heard this in sermons. That's fine. What are you doing with it? How are you applying it in your moment? Because like a boxer, I can sit outside the ring and go, oh yeah, I'm boxing, man. Yeah, man, I'm a good boxer. And somebody says, well, why don't you get in the ring? I don't know, man. I'm not ready, man. I got a headache. I'm getting in the ring right now. I got a headache. Well, get in the ring. Let's spar some. Until you get into the ring, until you step into the arena, that emotional purity is not going to really change. You have to step into it and illuminate what you want to change. Illumination is the light. So, yeah.
So for people listening and they're like, yeah, okay, I want that. I want to get into the arena. I want to purify my mind. I want to, get to that place where I can be somebody who understands my boundaries better. What are some good practicals that someone can do to get their mentality in the right place? I know you've mentioned thinking a lot, and I know you've mentioned just a lot of stuff with emotions. What are some practicals just that people can do?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, Bible study. I mean, okay, I don't care who you are. I hear people always say, well, I'm struggling. Hold on a minute. I mean, this isn't, a rule. This is an application. And so I think sometimes we think, okay, I become involved in the church or an organization, I have to do what they say. No, we're trying to help you create the life you want. So first is Bible study. And when I say Bible study, what you believe that is helpful to you in the moment. I think we want to follow campaigns and we want to follow this. And I think it's great. It's fine. We're trying to unify ourselves, but you got to unify you first. If you're not unified, the parallel universe with other people isn't going to exist. People say, well, that sounds like science. No, that's God. Okay. That's God. The parallel universe. Well, that's that, whatever, that Bob Proctor guy. Well, I like Bob Proctor and I like Jesus. Okay. So read your Bible with intentionality. Where we are here in Charlottesville, and Jared, you used to be here. Drew and Jenny have done a fantastic job trying to help us be disciplined, and through different formats and things like that. So you had to read your Bible, and it's got to be intentional. But everything they do is intentional. Will Archer's another guy. Intentionality. They do intentional things because once you start doing that, you start to create a different way of thinking. Okay, so that's my first thing. Prayer and meditation. People go, oh, there's that word again, meditation. That's a science word. Meditation, read the scriptures, Psalms 19:14. Jesus meditated. He meditated. When he went away, before it was morning, he was praying. Prayer is thought. That's the other word for thought, prayer. Prayer is thought. Look it up. Go ahead, look it up. So meditating, relaxing, allowing the intentional situation of the morning to be present. Not what happened yesterday, not what happened 2 weeks ago, not what might happen tomorrow, not what's going on next week or in June, possibly with the WDS. Those things come up. You have to come back to the present. Those are the two things I would do right there from a spiritual perspective. Thirdly, I would become a person who wants development. And what I mean by that is people hear self-development. Oh, self-development's about making money. Yeah, some of it is. Yeah, but it really starts within your internal perception. So really in learning who you are, seeking to be the best you can be in your moment, in your time. Some of us have really hard times going on right now, but seeking to be the best you can be, being all you can be. In the Army, they used to say, that used to be the slogan, be all you can be, Army. Marines, the few, the proud, the Marines. There's a reason for that. These guys get in and they do an exceptional job by what? Being intentional. So I don't know what that would be for you. I'm not going to plug any books or anything like that. The idea behind that is for you to take little snippets of self-development and gain that. I have an Amazon Kindle and I get free books all the time on my Amazon Kindle because of my, and so I have a bunch of books. I have books about the power of awareness. I have books about, how to think differently so you can actually increase not only your health, but your wealth. That's not wrong. That's not wrong. The last time I checked, the people that lead our churches, especially churches like Dallas and New York and Boston and San Diego, they have to get paid. So yeah, the money, they get paid somehow, right? So it doesn't mean that it's primary. It just means it's part of the habits. So that's what I would do. And I would create my own plan for my self-development. What do I want to be more of? Do I want to be more harmonious? Do I want to be, a better friend? Do I want to be a better husband, a better spouse, better parent? I've learned so much over my time as a parent. It would scare you. I could teach you what not to do. It'd be great. But that's the kind of things that you need to develop. And then you need to develop yourself to be okay with who you are right now. Let me explain what I mean by that. We do the, oh, but what about this? Oh, okay. What if but I can't, I shouldn't, I wouldn't. We use all these words that are what? They're negative connotations. We think we're actually stepping into a positive area, and all we're doing is we're just going around. It's like Big Ben Parliament and vacation, European vacation. Big Ben Parliament, there's Big Ben Parliament. 18 hours later, they're still driving around the circle. Or Groundhog Day, where he wakes up, it's the same thing, same thing, same thing. Insanity it means what? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So you have to get involved where you're changing the perception. And so that could be whatever you want it to be, but you have to have a plan. And so most people don't have goals. Most people they don't create goals. They don't achieve goals. Results scare them because they think it's worldly. It's not worldly. Jesus had goals. He started with 500. He went to 120. He went to 12 and he had 3. That's a strategy. last time I checked. So having a strategy, having a goal, and then going for it. You know, Will Archer and I used to have this thing, you know, I was telling him a story about how I met Carla, and I told Carla, my wife, I said, you know, I met her like, I think the third date. I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to go for this. And so Will would walk around going, Ryan, I said, what, you going to go for it? He would just say that to me, just intent. But the truth behind that, you know, people that don't succeed in changing who they are don't go for it. They're waiting for the perfect storm. They're waiting for the sun to come out and everything to be beautiful. They're waiting for the snow to stop coming down so they can shovel the driveway. Then they'll do it. They're waiting for the perfect church leader, the perfect singles leader. They're waiting for the perfect sermon or the perfect Bible talk or the perfect corporation to work for. I got news for you. They don't exist. So that's why Jesus said when he went to heaven, he said, you need to stay here on high and wait for me. And they were like, wait, what do we need to do? They kept arguing. Just do it. Just stay here. And I will give you what you want. So that's just some practicals. I think the other practical is really ask yourself where you want to be in a year, you know, in terms of collectively, like spiritually, emotionally, and then start imagining that you're there. Start imagining that you have this maturation. Start imagining and visualize. People like visualization. What is that? It's bringing the future into the present. And, you know, last time I checked, Hebrews 11 talks about that. You can't see it. It's not made with things that are what? Visible. They're unseen. Abraham obeyed what? He didn't know where he was going. Sarah got power and she conceived. Rahab was friendly to the spies. She had no idea what was going to happen. Those are all examples of visualizing and imagining that things are going to be good. So that's quite a bit of practicals. I mean, you know, when you put up my, you know, my website and my email and stuff like that, people want to find out more. I'd love them to just message me. They can message me. We can talk more about things or whatever they're looking for. Because, you know, yeah.
And people are, as they're pursuing this, I imagine they're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. And, you know, you have the maturity to go, hey, if someone makes a mistake, be a mentor, help them out, get them right back on track. Unfortunately, when sometimes people are surrounded by people that don't allow them to make mistakes, or they begin to identify that person by the mistakes that they made. Because, you know, if someone's following your practicals and they make a mistake and then they're surrounded by people that don't allow them to make mistakes, what advice could you give to that person on changing their perception of what a mistake is, what failure is, how to get back up on your feet? Is it the visualization again of where you want to be in a year and mistakes are just another part of that process, or?
Well, it's a combination of both. That's a great question. And so the first thing I would ask is the person that's saying this person doesn't let them, I wonder what their perception is. Okay. So it's not, sometimes we perceive that people are trying to help us or trying to tell us what to do. And that's not always the case. And I'm a firm example of that. I was like, well, you're telling me what to do. No, I'm trying to help you. And so there's a pride there that maybe they need to let down from their perspective. Okay. Secondly is the best advice I can give you, you just got to do it. You just got to go and do it. You got to ask if you do have a problem with that relationship, you have to address it. And you guys go, hey, you know what? I'm trying. And if the person is not willing to give back, you know what? Then until that person gives back, maybe that relationship's not going to work. And I don't think we like that because we want everything to be nice and organized. And that's not how the world is. Organized chaos. I mean, it's organized chaos. I mean, it really is. I mean, we're everywhere. But it's organized, you know, molecules and atoms and things like that. So the best advice I can give them is to do it. And then to say, oh, you know what? I mean, this isn't really working with you, but don't blame the mentor. Victim is rampant in our country right now. It's rampant in our world, victimization. What do I mean by that? People need help. We need to help people. I'm not telling you we don't help the weak. Help the weak, but help the weak be strong. Help the weak have a plan. Help the weak come. You know, it's like the homeless. I love helping them. I really do. I love giving them things and money. But one of the things that I try to do is I try to give them food. And I try to give them something they can actually put into their body. And I'm not saying they're going to use my money to go drink. If they do that, that's on them. But I'm doing it. And I also try to have a conversation with them when I'm out. roll my window down. Hey, what's your name? Hey, I want to pray for you. Hey, can you pray for me? Because I could be on the street just where you are in the next day. So for the advice of somebody going to somebody else, you just have to do it. You just have to do it. You know, Nike said it, what? Just do it. Trying to figure out if this person is going to do what you want them to do is like trying to tell me that if I go to Vegas tomorrow with $100, I'm going to make 100,000. I don't know. So only God knows, but he also knows that you know, as we go and make disciples, we go and make disciples. We go, we do. Faith without deeds is nullified. You know, go. There's action behind that faith. There's deeds. That deed could be you helping that person. Maybe you need to help them. That person goes, hey, you know what? I really want this to be better, but it's really not working out. And I'm not sure why. If there's pushback, then you go, well, you know what? Until I really need you to help me. I want you to help me. I want you to lead me. It's a two-way street. It takes two to tango. So the problem is sometimes we want what we want as a person in need. We don't want to do what we need to do. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's not a perfect answer to it. It's a question of people, you know, moving forward. And you do that by developing yourself habitually, and you become stronger in that mindset. And then you'll start to see things a little clearer. You know, there are times when I've had mentors, I did not go to them, and I did not. I'm just going to tell you straight up. I'm talking about in the church. And I chose to go to other people. So, well, you're avoiding. No, I'm not avoiding. I tried. And after I tried, I said, you know what? If they can't give me the respect that I'm trying to give them, we're going to have a problem here. And so that doesn't mean I don't like the person. I think the person, they're good. They're just not, I don't need somebody to direct me. I need somebody sometimes to listen and to be sound mind and body, but I also need direction. So yeah, make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like, it seems like emotional safety seems to be a key factor in a characteristic of a mentor. Mm-hmm. If someone is in charge of a group or an organization or in charge of somebody else, what are some ways that person can be a safe person to other people as they're trying, as you know, because they're overseeing people that are trying to figure out their boundaries and they're making mistakes and they're mm-hmm. self-awareness, mm-hmm. and they need a safe place to be able to figure themselves out without, you know, the fear of being ostracized for being different. Yeah.
So your question is the person leading the group, you mean? The person who's...
Because I'll say this, because I'm in a leadership. I have leadership responsibilities, and so this is mainly for me. You know, what are some practicals that, like, how can I be a safe person for the people that I'm leading,
right?
So that they can.
Well, yeah. So you need to be an example above objectivity. Number one. Okay. So we have this objectivity. Go share your faith, or go get sales, or go do this. Well, sometimes you don't get the sale. Okay, and sometimes you don't. People don't come to church. Okay, so having a high energy, high spirit of energy, like, you know, high frequency of Holy Spirit energy in you is the first thing. And you do that by being an example. When you screw up, you're sorry. When you do well, you're there, you know, you're there to help. You set an example. Leaders' main job is to set an example. It's to serve. And I don't mean serve like do more. Serve in a sense of the spirit. Serve as, I understand I don't have it all figured out. I don't know all the answers. If I could tell you anything I learned by leading, I mean, I led a church, I led a half a church, I led a gigantic campus ministry. That was my biggest problem, was I wanted to have control. And you can't have, nobody has control. No one except Jesus and God and whoever you religiously, and look, I follow Jesus. I'm just saying, they're the only ones that have control. And that control is supposed to be manufactured in the right way. So you see examples, be an example, imitate your leaders. You know, if your leader is being hard to deal with, then you're going to be hard to deal with. Again, not everything is perfect. You're going to have people that are going to do whatever they want. But you need to be an example of authenticity, of genuineness, not worried about being embarrassed, not worried about what people think of you. we have way too much of that, not only in the church, but in our society. Everybody's tippy-toeing around wondering what the next guy's going to do. And I'm going, you don't know anyway. So why are you trying to control it? And so in our head, we have to become authentic. You become authentic. Jesus was authentic. He walked into a village and some people listened and some people didn't. And what did he do? What was the next thing he did? Do you know? Okay, if you don't. I mean,
I don't know which.
He went to the next town.
Oh, okay.
He just went. He said, "I'm going. Okay, hey, peace out. I'm leaving." He didn't go, you know what? Those people didn't listen to me. You know what? That guy didn't do this. You know what? That woman, she is so prideful. How dare her not listen to my message in the village? He didn't do that. And if he did, I don't see it in the scriptures. I'm sure, he went and continued to actively do his work. So whether you're sharing your faith, Jared, or you're leading a discussion, you're just another person that's been given an opportunity to do that. And so genuine authenticity is so huge. It's not attractive to people because they don't have control. But I believe that when you have genuineness and authenticity, things blow up. Things get bigger. They get better.
What are some ways that people can empower themselves to have the confidence to be authentic, to be able to, be ambitious with the visualization of where they want to go? Do you have any thoughts on how someone listening can, empower themselves in different areas of their life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to practicals, but it also goes back to being around certain types of people, and it goes around listening, and it goes around learning, being a sponge. I mean, Jesus said the student is not above his teacher, or the teacher's not above his student, excuse me, but we still need to learn, and we still need to embrace learning. I think some of us, we just want it microwaved. We want the microwave, we want when I was growing up, it was the Swanson's Hungry Man TV dinner. It was the grossest thing I ever ate in my life. And you stuck it in the microwave and it was boom, 30 seconds later, you had your food. So patience, building habits, getting with people that can help you do that. There are those people in the ministries and the churches that want to do that while you're learning how to be the best disciple outwardly to people. I think getting help, getting coached. We used to have this old saying that you don't need counselors in our church, and I'm really glad that they figured out that they need people, coaches, and counselors that can help, because it's really a third eye view, and I think our staffs need that too. I'm hoping to start working with some of the churches around the country on, hey, I have this background in the ministry and I have this leadership background. Let me come in and help you. Let me come in and show you what I can maybe help you see that you're not seeing when it comes to certain things. So I think that's a practical. You have to be open to that. You have to be willing to, pay a coach. Yes, I'm a coach. I'm not marketing to you, but you know what? I can help you if you need it. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the bottom line is you need help. Sometimes you need help more than just the brother or sister sitting in the pew. They don't know your experiences as well. They can encourage you, but then you need to build on that encouragement. So that's my first thing. The second thing is just be a student. Be a student of yourself. We're not studious enough of ourselves to learn how to be like God. We just think it's just going to happen. God is in control. We hear that all the time. We know that, but he still expects you to get on the bus. He expects you to get on the subway. If you want to go from Manhattan to the Bronx, you got to get on the subway. Or you take a cab and you pay $100, and I wouldn't do that. So anyway, it's just simple stuff. It's simple dynamics. And I mean, I can, one of the things that people can do is they can affirm great statements into their head. According to your will, it will be done. Whatever you ask for in prayer will be given to you if you have faith. Those types of things based on, ethical values are very helpful, but you have to do it. It's all about acting on it. People watch this and they get off and they go, oh, yeah, that's great. I've heard that before. And they don't do anything with it. They're going to be in the same place they were 2 days from now.
Yep. And I know at the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned about us talking about rules and boundaries, and I'm sure people were ready to be told what to do. And I'm sure they're going to walk away going, I still don't know what to do. But do you have any final thoughts
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I appreciate you taking time to let me discuss. And this is definitely coming from a non-biased, more of an experiential situation. I always tell people I'm not only the hair club president, but I'm also a client. And what I mean by that is I've also been involved in the process of working on myself. You're not talking to somebody that's just kind of, I'm the expert and I got degrees and I got the certification. So if you do get to a point where you're like, oh, I've heard this before, well, maybe somebody's trying to get your attention. Maybe God's trying to get your attention. And maybe it's time for you to put some of these things into practice. So if you do want to get married, if you do want to clean up your life in a little bit of different ways, if you want to make sure that you're financially stable, or you want to feel good about yourself health-wise, or you just want to be a great disciple and a great servant, I'll tell you what, one of my friends, he's in Hershey, Pennsylvania. His name is Glenn Geeting. He's an emergency room doctor. And his wife was in the ministry. And I'll leave you with this. She was in the ministry. She was a women's ministry leader, and he was not in the ministry. He served her and still does today. And the reason I share that at the very end of this session, this tape, is because of this. You got to do things you don't want to do. People are like, well, gosh, you're acting like you're telling me what to do. No, I'm challenging you to get off the couch. Get off the couch. This pandemic is just a reminder of that. The timing of this interview is not by accident. And so when you read this and go, I've already heard that, you've already decided you don't need it. So it's not for you. What I can say is, for the people that really want it, it's for you. And so that's my last thought. Be your own person within the realm of following and serving God. Be your own person within the realm of following and serving God. That's true unity with Jesus. So.
Well said. Well, I know you're busy because you have a busy schedule. We appreciate you taking the time to sit and share your thoughts on this topic, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, and if people want just to have a conversation and find out what I'm doing, Jared's going to post to YouTube. He's also going to put my email and my Facebook page on there, and give us a little bit of time to do that. And we'll set this up where you can come on, message me, we can talk in a little bit more intimate levels if you're interested in finding out how I might be able to help you or help somebody or even help a group. I do group stuff too. So yeah, thank you very much, Jared. It's been great. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll let you go. Have a good one.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Jared.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.